Now, you may have looked at question 76 with the little fraction inside of it and got a little bit intimidated. But anytime you have equations that have factors in it, or fractions, it's an F word, fractions in it, it usually makes the equation a little bit harder to solve for sure. But you know what? There's a nifty little trick called multiplication that you can do. It's multiplication property of equality. You multiply both sides by something and you get rid of all the fractions, right? And we saw this on the linear equations. Quadratic equations work exactly the same way. So I look at my numbers here and I only have one factor and it has a common denominator. That was strange. A common denominator of 4. It's only one denominator. If there were multiple fractions, you would have to get the common denominator between all of them. This one is only 1. And I'm going to multiply everything in this equation by 4. When you multiply everything by 4, the fraction is going to disappear, and then this quadratic is going to be magically easier to solve. So 4 times x squared, you get a 4x squared, plus a 4 times x is 4x, and then 1/4 of 4 is 1, is equal to 0. Okay, now this equation, 4x squared plus 4x plus 1, is not the same equation as x squared plus x plus 1/4. If you turn this 0 into a y and you try to graph these quadratics, these are going to be totally different quadratics. This one is skinny and this one is way, way skinnier than that one. However, they have the same x-intercepts. They have the same roots. They have the same solutions, the same zeros. Zeros, they're called zeros because they're equal to 0 right here, okay? And so this equation is so much easier to solve than the original one, so you solve it instead. And how would you solve it? As a quadratic equation that is a leading coefficient of 4, you could use the quadratic formula, which now try using something like the AC method. And then that brings us over here to question 77, the last quadratic. And it has a 9 over here on this other side, and it's sort of like 74, and it's sort of like 75, in that it's not equal to 0, but it's a pretty easy thing to do in order to just get this thing equal to 0. I'm just going to get rid of the 9, subtract it over to the other side. 7x squared minus 2x minus 9, whenever I subtract the thing over. It is a quadratic where a leading coefficient is 7, so I'm probably going to use one of two methods that we've talked about. Either the AC method, which would tell me that I need to multiply 7 times the negative 9 to get my product, or the guess and check method, where I open up my parentheses and essentially do my foiling backwards. So give one of those things a try in order to solve question 77.